I want to be able to have the ability to speak to both sides. And so
Yeah. And
that's why for
yeah.
a long time here, for at least past decade and a half, I've just tried to be neutral. But
Not because you have thoughts, obviously.
I
So do
thought,
I, and so does
and if I'm
everybody.
pressed, if I'm like,
Yeah.
and especially when it has to do with your kids, your grandkids, and what's their future going to look like, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not afraid to tell you what I believe,
Right.
but it's really not what it's on some levels. I remember Billy Graham's going, "What about this? What about that? What about all this stuff?" It doesn't matter what I think.
Doesn't matter.
It matters what the book says. What's the book say?
Go in there. Yeah.
So I tend to sort of defer everything to what the scriptures
Yeah.
say.
You see. Yeah. What was Billy Graham like?
He was awesome.
Really?
Some great stories with Billy. I would go see him on the great thing of the Billy thing is two things. 1994, he did a youth night at his crusade. The very first time he did it, met with lots of
1994.
opposition.
What, did people out front?
No, all the leadership in the Billy
Okay.
Graham Association, they thought he lost his mind.
In what year?
This is 94. It's a
Okay.
Cleveland Stadium, and he just said
Stadiums, dude,
we're not reaching the next generation. With our programming, we're not reaching these kids.
Okay.
And he said, I want to have a rock concert. He said, I want Michael W. Smith and DC Talk. And there were
that's probably where I got
there was
saved.
80,000 people in that stadium.
Dude, people don't understand how many people that is.
That's a lot of people.
So
and I watched 10,000 people. I thought 10,000 kids come forward. And I heard the best message I thought that Billy Graham had ever delivered. Very, very thought out, speaking to kids and speaking to that generation.
What stadium?
Cleveland Stadium, Cleveland, Ohio.
Outside? Okay, because I saw it at the Georgia Dome. I was probably 10.
Okay.
With Carmen.
Okay. What year would that have been?
94.
Okay.
Maybe 92.
Okay.
And I remember we've talked about this before because we did a joke about how I went to this church over New Year's and they said they're over Christmas Eve and it said text in to get saved. And I go, seems like it's getting too easy to get saved now because you can just text and you don't have to say it out loud. You kind of whisper it. You don't have to raise your hand. Everybody's eyes are closed. I go, I remember you're in section 300 and you want to get saved. You had to come down there.
Yeah.
That takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Long walk.
And I think the floors were empty.
Yeah, they were.
Because they were anticipating so many people coming down there?
Yeah.
Wow. And where were you? You were at side stage?
I was on the stage. Sitting
playing?
Beside. No, I'd already played. So DC Talk played. I played.
My whole thing was opening for you.
They were and my whole thing was just to prepare people's hearts for what he's going to say. That's my job, you know.
So for what Billy was going to say. Yeah.
And I did a ton of youth nights. And then, you know, he retires and then I'd go see him in his home. He'd always pray for me. It's like, oh my gosh, we had a lot in common. 5 kids.
Charlotte, right?
Asheville, right? Black Mountain, which is right outside of Asheville.
Yep.
So then I go up, and then the last 3 times I went, he was too weak, and I would take my piano and I'd set it beside him, and I'd just play all his favorite hymns.
Gosh, dude.
And then he was too weak, and so I would put my hand on him and I'd pray for him. It's like I'm going, wow, this is so surreal. You know,
like the whole,
And then I think the last time I saw him was 2 months before he passed.
And you played at his funeral.
I did.
What song?
Above All. Oh.
I wonder how many people walking around this country have been or their lives are changed because of that. Because of that, what kind of years would it's every artist has a good 6-7 year run where they're just on top. Like that was from when to when Billy Graham was doing. I mean, could you imagine today if an evangelist was doing stadiums? I don't think we'll ever see anything like that. Maybe. What years was that?
Well, the youth night. Well, he's been doing it since the 50s. You know, the 60s in L.A. and he'd stay in L.A. for months, like 2 months, 2-3 months in L.A. A tent full every night, 3 months. Crazy stuff.
Okay,
but when My first thing with him was in the late 80s, but then it was the youth. We got to be friends, and then this the 94 thing. That's when he began doing the youth nights. It was every time he did a crusade in the city,
Yeah.
there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but Saturday night was youth night.
Yeah.
And that
And
was
how would you tell, what would he say, or even you say? Like I struggle with having sold out shows and getting an ego. Or what would Bono say about how do you not think you're better than people? Does that make sense?
yeah.
If everybody's
Well,
like, we're flying across the world to see Michael.
Yeah, you know what? I think as you mature in your faith, you realize really fast this is not about you.
Okay, well, let's not.
I love that for every deep
It's just
question,
not
he's just
about-
got a
it's-
one line, shut it down.
It's
this is
not
what it
about
is.
you.
I feel like I'm on the kitchen floor. He's like, hey, John, you gotta.
He's
you
like,
gotta-
check the book.
yeah,
dude.
You gotta
Just
get
check the book.
together.
But you know, I think
You
as a
gotta get-
celebrity, and I think as anybody who's on a stage, it's something I think probably every artist
Yeah,
has to deal with on a nightly basis. Going, all right, there's either 3,000 people out there, or there's 22,000 people out there, and so every night I just say, Lord, I want my posture to be beautiful, and I want to walk out there with extreme humility and be able to, if there any glory that's coming my way, I'll be able to deflect it.
Yeah.
And sort of deflect it toward you, and not go,
Right.
hey, I'm the, so, but I think as it's a, we have really interesting jobs,
Yeah,
when people come to hear us. And so you got to keep it in perspective. And Billy was good for me in regards to that sort of thing, but
and
the
that's
guy was so godly, he just was so on point. And I just don't, and when he would walk out on stage, I mean, it was a 5-minute standing ovation.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is like, how do you, what are they cheering for? What the man had done?
I
Correct?
think they're cheering for what he's done. I think
They're
and
honoring.
he's a hero. He's a hero of the faith.
Yes.
And they probably look at me and they look at, we are heroes of the faith on some level.
Do you see he was going to say, and they look at me and they, well,
No,
look at
come
me.
on,
Yeah,
come on.
He didn't finish that sentence.
But
he goes,
but I think it's
yeah.
like, they're sitting there going, oh my gosh, because I would do the
Yep.
same thing for somebody. That's, oh my gosh, that's
Yep.
what, but it's more like, God, thank you for that guy, because you used that
he has
guy who's a
changed.
weak guy
Your honor. Yeah.
and used him as a conduit. And what that song or that message to that person changed my life.
And
You just
thank
wanna-
you
and
for, you're just honoring
Exactly,
the person.
you're applauding
I
that.
mean, yeah,
And-
sure, it was a little weird, but on the net, it was a positive. It was a positive. You cannot be serious. On the net, it's a positive.